Greetings, readers and friends. Harvey Michaels here. I'm thrilled to welcome you to our adventure into Danshui President Plunge, Book 1, Evacuate or Pay. It was an electrifying story to write, and I can't wait to share some with you today. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Your support means the world to me. Thank you kindly. Okay, here we go. Chapter 1, Wang Sanbao. No, 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 and no. Wang Sanbao thinks to himself about eating a bit more of the extravagant mid-morning snacks still crowded at the center of the table. He feels like munching on a simple baked sweet potato or some steamed pumpkin, maybe later at home, whenever that is. He takes care to not even hint at reaching for anything which would signal one of the servers around the table eager to spoon something up for the billionaire senior citizen. Just Sanbao to his friends, the elderly president of Wang Family Enterprises, knows he is expected to keep quiet, even now with nothing going on, bored to tears. That doesn't stop him from noticing 100 details, dwelling on humorous observations for his own pleasure, better than marking time when to take his next blood pressure pill. He looks closer at the hotel windows where one outward finger of the monster storm spiraling toward them was showing a taste of what was to come on the huge surrounding windows. An eyebrow lifts, noticing the high winds are playing an invisible percussion game of whack-a-mole on the walls of glass, whomping in random single spots, and then in a line, and then one larger spot, a gigantic soft-headed drumstick pounding a powerful timpani drum roll. Sanbao jokes to himself, "I am strong and fierce and musical," says the wind. A few of the hotel servers are skittish, unaccustomed to witnessing a typhoon so directly. Nothing is between them and the still darkening storm except hopefully strong windows in this second-floor conference and dining room in the Fulon Hotel at Danshui Fisherman's Wharf. Sanbao's mouth turns up in a grin at how the luxury hotel is shaped like a giant ship pointed out to sea, a ludicrous notion on this day. The idea touches his phobia, dying at sea, making his pulse jump once, and he notices a swelling of blood pressure. Sanbao remembers his next post-lunch pill is ready upstairs. Doctors manage his health more than he likes, but he figures part of trusting God is giving trust to doctors. A half Taiwanese, half Japanese song from Sanbao's childhood about merrily sailing on a trip plays in his mind, and the corners of his mouth turn up again at the urge to sing the distinctive, then popular tune out loud, normal behavior around Sanbao's office. Here today he will not sing or animatedly tell one of his stories or call attention to himself in any way that his CEO son would say took away from the board meeting. The thoughts of the song and his distant past, never far away in his mind, bring the grin again. He was once fluent in Japanese, learned with all of Taiwan during a Japanese-occupied school system that lingered past 1945's World War surrender. No one here could sing that with me. He hears more of the song's distinct tune. I'm only certain my mother and brothers Da Bao and R Bao could. He grins and wipes the smile from his face. His parents and his brothers, first treasure and second treasure, had passed away, and now only he remains, the third treasure, Sanbao. At 82, Wang Sanbao should only be the senior face, a corporate figurehead. But in many ways, he is still indispensable. Sanbao's importance to the company is an embarrassment to his CEO son, Harvard graduate Bernard Wang. Today, Sanbao only made nodding eye contact with most every person from his seat. Normally, he would make the rounds, pat arms or squeeze shoulders, chat them up about families and important matters he made a point to remember. But today is Bernie's day. Bernie, who would blow his top if Sanbao spoke his childhood English nickname, is the social butterfly today, talking good-naturedly with anyone about anything. Bernie is overcompensating for his questionable decision to not cancel the board meeting today. The event is overshadowed now by low, howling typhoon sounds outside, buffeting and shaking the surrounding windows. Earlier this morning, corporate reports and projections for next year went smoothly enough, business as usual. Now, however, there are more than a few jittery looks around the room. No one dares say what they think. Why are we in this exposed location when a typhoon, now a super typhoon, is charging our way? The excuse to keep the scheduled company gathering made sense. This yearly board meeting had been postponed 3 times already, and the senior company executive officials all have full schedules until Chinese New Year in 2 months. At least they have the hotel to themselves. According to hotel management, it was the first time to be open and serving banquets during a typhoon. Fulan Hotel was ecstatic about the conference at first, imagining publicity and news coverage. However, 5 days ago, when Sanbao himself brought out a copy of a contract for them to sign, they looked like they would faint. President Wang Sanbao and his high-profile attorney bluntly explained theirs was a conservative corporation that valued privacy. Although the compensation package for the hotel was most generous, no hint of press coverage or any publicity would be allowed. They would hold the hotel liable for any coverage with zero tolerance. That meant all the money for lodging and catering would be refunded, besides even further compensation if this condition was violated. The manager's face sourly agreed they would do their very best to guarantee no reporters stepped foot inside. Much to their consternation, some press did make an appearance. A young couple filmed the lobby entrance from a distance great enough they couldn't be shooed away, waiting there when executives arrived at 9. After his security team dropped Wang Sanbao off, the photographers left too. The hotel denied tipping them off and pointed out the distance they stood at would not be favorable for Fulan's hotel's image. Bernard's billionaire father could have done anything he wanted that weekend. He and his wife enjoyed driving to secluded places and hiking on hilly paths or seashores with or without their dogs. However, Sanbao asked his son a week earlier if he would like him to quietly attend. Sanbao's stressed-out son agreed and appreciated his father's offer to keep silent. Bernie knew he was off. He even remembered how it started, the intense, tunnel vision anxiety attack on the morning he peeled part of his own teenage face learning to shave. Blood always chilled and nauseated Bernard the way the ocean affected his father. That meltdown moment in the mirror, blood trickling over his jaw, down his neck, it dawned on him, both problem and solution, and imprinted inside the man-child that his pedigree precluded him, overshadowed him. To succeed, he had to hate his bloody errors and deserve respect apart from his family name and his father's accomplishments. But now, when the high-strung CEO looked in a mirror, he saw an aging acrobat juggler with an ugly comb-over, bound by realities he was loath to embrace. He counterfeited the confident emotional balance he lacked as CEO and disdainfully used the pedigree from his father as one forced to eat what they are allergic to. Bernard dug in his heels at any suggestion of faults and compensated by balancing pages of impossible tasks he sensed were necessary to make up for his position he felt entitled to but inadequate to succeed at. Bernard Wang brings himself back to the present. He glances at the third page in his handwritten pocket notebook, filled with reminders, quotes, and goals. He swallows the urge to watch a success fantasy skit in his brain and swears one of his regular promises to himself to make enormous improvements, to show them all, to show him. Sanbao is not your typical billionaire or executive for a plethora of reasons. Media coverage sculpted an intimidating myth of a super senior, healthy and active, glasses-free since cataract surgery. Even avoiding public attention, he is always a most admired man in media surveys. Highly opinionated, but even more tactful, his chiseled face with sharpened features scares people until he speaks with his kind voice and kinder eyes. He shuns privileged life and never partakes in those things only the wealthy could afford. Besides a secure house, his only indulgence was 3 generations of golden retrievers, 5 times replaced over the years when older dogs passed away. He and his wife prefer simple, not luxurious pleasures, and the two of them enjoy contented bliss everyone wants and few attain, billionaires or not. Sanbao never played golf, and his friends know he privately objects to golf's existence, hogging the most beautiful land for only moneyed people to waste and poison the land and the water runoff around it, so he claimed. Sanbao does not collect art or expensive things. He and his wife only traveled abroad when and where company business took Sanbao, staying a few days longer on vacation. Most precious to Sanbao is his wife, Pearl. 60 years married, her musical laughter and her stories delight him as much as they ever did. Her simple tastes ran the same directions as his. They were not proud of their frugality, and neither were they ungenerous, but they both were modest and content with little. She never looked down on others, however, she questioned modern trends. One time, she wondered when she saw how much stars and socialites could spend on name-brand baubles and knickknacks. A TV news reporter trumpeted a staggering price tag for the latest designer bag. What do you suppose is the attraction of paying so much for a handbag? Pearl asked, with a rare expression of mortification. Her husband shrugged and shook his head. Maybe they are making up for love they don't feel. I don't know. But we've seen how addictive materialism becomes. Didn't we once buy land for a factory with less money than that? Pearl can't hide the shock from her voice. Sanbao and Pearl married and moved from Wang family's southern farmland to Taipei in 1956. With courage and timing, Sanbao built a diverse network of small enterprises on his own, while investing to shore up friends' canned pineapple businesses and some startup shoe factories he saw opportunity in. He was undaunted by the curtain of opposition to local Taiwanese rising in industry dominated by immigrants who escaped from the Civil War in China. He was satisfied to fly under the radar in smaller enterprises and diversify. Shoe manufacturing paid off well for him in central Taiwan, but Sanbao never deviated from a core of food processing and land holding. He focused in the north and south, always in small enough entities to stay out of political attention, prudent for any succeeding proprietor who was multi-generation homegrown. It was not until 1996 he finally formed Wang Family Enterprises, corralling most of the manufacturing assets under one umbrella, shocking many moneyed families and political entities who believed they kept tabs on the richest of the rich. No one knew the half of it after adding Sanbao's personal land holdings and private investments. That was 20 years of steady growth ago. Sanbao never considered himself savvy for avoiding political entanglements since he was Taiwanese. He was merely being conservative and cautious, his rural agrarian and biblical core values mindset. The wealthiest class could not identify with this pair, Sanbao and Pearl, and what cannot be comprehended is looked down on and gossiped about. To not care about face is to lose face, because face is most important to those who can pay money to gain face. A few years ago, Sanbao and his wife went to events apparently underdressed. They were joked at and jeered in gossip columns, which infuriated Sanbao's son as the CEO of their family corporation. Bernard Wang laid down the law to his parents how important it was they represented the company when they went to certain affairs, and they agreed to dress up sometimes for their son's sake. But hiking on local paths, almost no one recognized them under their wide hats and well-worn clothes. When Sanbao accepted his first government ministry position, he endured similar dress code briefings requiring Sanbao to wear a conservative business suit in his official capacity. Over time, he got used to maintaining the right image, and he got tricky too. The armored police stretch van backed into their mansion's expansive garage to pick Sanbao up, rather than stopping in the circle driveway where press or paparazzi could sneak telephoto lens peeks of him from outside the gated neighborhood. In his own garage, Sanbao might get inside the van ready for a meeting in a tailored suit, or he might dress more comfortably in jeans and a sweater if they were going out of town. His assigned two-man police security team was accustomed to him packing extra clothes and snacks from home, things he liked to wear and munch on. There were no public images of Sanbao touching money, showing money, caring about money, but he had a big secret. His great passion for helping people, strangers, with their money difficulties. It was his favorite thing to do in the world, and the only reason he could see to celebrate his wealth. Sanbao strove to give anonymously as Jesus instructed 2,000 years ago. By using his two-man security detail, especially his bodyguard, they were almost daily helping people who were in need. They worked out a way the people never knew who contributed to their cause. After official meetings, he and his team took side trips to seek small adventures and opportunities. Sanbao led the way without his security team. He insisted he would not be recognized, so no one need accompany him. He moseyed along in villages, parks, or on hilly paths. Probably some onlookers thought him senile, because as he walked along, he often prayed out loud, apparently talking to himself. Sanbao loved to take his time and stroll among the marketplaces and the smallest local eateries. When he came upon people who were showing distress or even weeping, Sanbao almost always stopped and casually struck up a conversation. Frequently they opened up, explained their plight to the elderly stranger with the old floppy hat, offering a willing ear. Sanbao would offer to pray with them sometimes. Other times he just listened and, before saying goodbye, shared an apple or a pear, which would appear along with a folding fruit knife from Sanbao's old coat pocket. As was most often the case, part of the person's crisis involved a money problem. Moments later, James, Sanbao's bodyguard, would appear with a cash contribution, usually more than the plight required. He would tell the person what his boss told him to say. Please accept this as from God. Jesus loves you. We hope you can have courage and find God's face to get through this. Make sure you keep this a secret. Sanbao would not share stories of his philanthropy with his wife unless she pointedly asked as he shared his day with her. His wife more than approved. She wanted to make philanthropic errands for the bodyguard to do for her too, also insisting no one be the wiser. Some days Sanbao would hear the bodyguard say, "I'll be right back," and go in through the garage door without saying why or what for. Mrs. Wang showed she could be an imaginative planner from the first time. It was early morning when Sanbao got into the van and asked James if he could go help his wife, Wang Taitai, with something. Mrs. Wang was a lovely woman, also in her 80s. Her smile warmed any room she was in. She introduced herself and explained to James she knew about Sanbao's arrangements and hoped James could help her philanthropy too. She knew Sanbao had a 3-hour conference all morning that day and asked if they could meet at a coffee shop she found online near the conference site. That morning, James and Pearl Wang began a mutual friendship. They shared a trusting affinity and immediate closeness. Both of them exchanged core life stories, some heartening, some heartbreaking. Most people saw the defined muscles everywhere on James and his normal, on-the-job serious face, not the round, joyful cheeks his family loved, and now Pearl did too. James and Pearl became friends on Facebook and Line, but they never spoke much online. It was the coffee shop times they both looked forward to. She would ask questions in her gentle voice, and they shared deep truths in life and their experiences. Then she would give the bodyguard a sheaf of notes and a paper bag with smaller bags inside. She knew Sanbao's schedule and asked with humble gratitude that James do a few errands for her in his downtime. It always amazed James at the list. How does she come up with these? Does she scout the neighborhood beforehand? The driver and bodyguard's personnel files said they were Christians, and so chosen from the police government personnel security division to serve Sanbao, known for his open, non-denominational Christian faith. It privately thrilled James, the bodyguard, playing his part in Sanbao's philanthropy. And Theo, the driver, didn't mind keeping secrets. They declined all rewards the Wangs attempted to give them, preferring the reward their faith told them was in store for them in the next life. Besides, it was extra gratifying just to see the people's faces and know what a difference was made. Before, for many years, Sanbao turned down government ministry positions, including cabinet positions in the last 3 administrations. Now that he was enjoying the purpose he found, whenever prominent officials asked Sanbao about his job, he said without elaboration he loved it. The last 3 years came and went quickly. It overjoyed a newly elected administration that the efficient and low-maintenance billionaire would continue serving selflessly in the figurehead position as government liaison with industry. He only had to sit in on meetings and occasionally show up at the office. Sanbao dodged the press as much as possible, but now and again reporters or business people made grievous false claims about him. On those occasions, he would give an interview with one of 3 media outlets, rotating a different news company each time. He was well informed enough to stop a pushy journalist, but gracious enough to get through interviews without real confrontation. Somewhere outside the hotel, a branch loudly breaks and crashes against the wall of thick glass windows behind him. Several people jump and inadvertently squeal. Sanbao sees his son is displeased by this, either by the branch or the people reacting. He looks reassuringly at his son. His son returns the gaze, but he cannot make eye contact with it, which is unlike him. Sanbao wants to go hearten him, encourage his son. A confident demeanor is even more justified by the storms rising. Having the conference on this day is an unnecessary and radical gambit, but Sanbao is proud of his son's gumption. He texts his son to lift his son's spirits. Bernard notices his father texting and cringes in complaint. Such a poor example, and at the time he needs his father the most. He feels his phone vibrate, and his whole body freezes, thinking it might be the voice. He shouldn't be calling now. Media networks. News media alerts and updates use every trick they can imagine, keeping their increased typhoon audiences glued to TVs, radios, and internet programs. On this day, the mission of ratings and public safety coincide. TV and radio news updates and police public affairs announcements all emphasize safety measures. Alerts appear to be recorded live, with interviews and video of the approaching typhoon slamming northeastern Taiwan. But most interviews with officials and experts were filmed and edited hours before. The notable exception is when top weather officials speak. When the meteorology official holds a press conference, all TV networks cover it live, uninterrupted. As the press conference streams live, advertisements silently play in a reduced window at the bottom corner of the screen. Damage and casualties are a foregone conclusion. Tragedies will be reported as they happen by news reporters and an army of citizens through smartphones. News anchors inform viewers what a splash in international coverage Taiwan's 3rd super typhoon of the year is receiving. CNN, BBC, NHK, and CCTV on the air and online are all updating satellite images of the massive and lethal tropical storm bearing down on Taipei. News stations play a minute-long pre-taped plea from Taipei and New Taipei city governments to stay indoors. They show footage of Taidong City during Super Typhoon Nepartak several months earlier. A car rolling along like a log, roofs ripping off buildings and flying away in monster winds that surpass movie special effects, too strong to appear possible. The shocking damage aftermath of shops torn apart and vehicles overturned and covered in debris is sobering. A voice dubbed over the disaster footage reminds viewers, keep in mind, Taidong City takes the brunt of typhoons most years. As experienced as they are, you can see the damage is almost unbelievable. This is the difference between a typhoon and a super typhoon. The tape continues with footage of shipping containers avalanching during Maranti, the second super typhoon in 2016, that time striking Kaohsiung in the south. Then, shifting to central Taiwan, they show Taichung's elevated train station scaffolding dramatically collapse like an apocalypse movie scene. It is from yet another typhoon called Megi, causing an island-wide unprecedented 2 consecutive Taiwan days off from work and school. Next on the news comes celebrities, pre-recorded, pair by pair, a movie star and a famous director, 2 Taiwanese pop singers, and a popular drama star couple, unsmiling, pleading to the camera, stay inside. Last, a police officer lays down the law. When you go out in typhoon peak gusting time, you not only endanger yourself but others too, especially rescue workers. After the clip finishes, the news anchor asks an expert why this year is so calamitous. I cannot answer definitively, the expert says. It's possibly related to 2016 being the hottest summer in 100 years. That news anchor turns to the camera and soberly warns everyone once again to remain indoors. Then a male anchor briefly video interviews a police official who states that 7-Elevens and Family Marts will not close during the typhoon, but they hope no one ventures out in the typhoon peak winds. The anchor turns to the camera and pleads, my fellow citizens, we know the winds rage and stop during typhoons we have all experienced. But this is a super typhoon that will directly hit us. There will be casualties. When you go outside and get hurt, those are unnecessary casualties. Please prepare, please protect yourselves, and please stay indoors. That's it for today. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed the reading this time. Please leave a comment if you did. What did you think? Remember, sharing is caring, so please do tell a friend who would like to join us here. If you are enjoying the journey, I'd be so grateful if you would be a supporter and pick up a copy of Danshui President Plunge on Amazon and leave a review. Until next time, take care. I look forward to seeing you here again. See you then.